9 bombshell revelations from Prince Harry's memoir Spare.
Prince Harry's new memoir, Spare, offers a no-holds-barred glimpse into the royal family and its deeply fractured relationships. Dedicated to Meg, Archie, Lily and Diana, the new book breaks with the royal protocol to never complain, never explain, providing unflinching details of his personal life and estrangement from his father, King Charles III, and beloved brother, William, who Harry also calls his arch-nemesis. According to Spare, the rift between the royals is nothing short of a full-scale rupture, and as the shockwaves reverberate from the tell-all memoir, here are some of the most explosive and surprising revelations. 1. The last time Harry spoke to Diana, the Duke regrets the last conversation he had with his mother, citing a phone conversation the two had the day she died in August 1997. She'd called early in the evening, the night of the crash, but I was running around with Willie and my cousins and didn't want to stop playing, he writes. So, I'd been short with her. Impatient to get back to my games, Harry says he rushed his mom off the phone and wishes he had apologized for it. I wished I'd searched for the words to describe how much I loved her, he writes. I didn't know that search would take decades. 2. Kate, Meghan faced off over baby Brian. In the weeks leading up to Harry and Meghan's 2018 nuptials, Prince Harry writes that Meghan offended Kate when suggesting she had baby brain after the future Princess of Wales had forgotten a detail about one of their pre-wedding conversations. According to Spare, the upset princess said to Meghan of the comment, "You talked about my hormones. We are not close enough for you to talk about my hormones." The exchange warranted a reconciliatory tea between the couples after the wedding to smooth things over. During the meetup, Harry writes Kate gripped the side of her upholstered chair tightly enough to make her fingers turn white, according to the book. We are not close enough for you to talk about my hormones. We are not close enough for you to talk about my hormones. 3. He says Kate and Meghan had a tearful exchange over a bridesmaid dress. Kate and Meghan apparently had an exchange over bridesmaid dresses, leaving Meghan sobbing on the floor, Harry writes. According to the book, Kate texted Meghan that daughter, Charlotte's, bridesmaid dress was too big, too long, too baggy, and that Charlotte cried when she tried it on at home. While rumors swirled at the time that Meghan was the one who made Kate cry, the Duchess of Sussex set the record straight on her version of events during a 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey. A few days before the wedding, she was upset about something. Yes, the issue is correct. About the flower girl dresses, and it made me cry and it really hurt my feelings, Meghan says. 4. William and Harry told his father he didn't need to marry Camilla. On meeting the Queen Consort for the first time, Harry writes that he recalls wondering if she was going to be mean to him, if she'd be like all the wicked stepmothers in storybooks. But she wasn't, he says. Camilla Parker Bowles had long been a fixture in Charles's life. They began dating in the 1970s, and remained intimate after marrying others. 7 years after Diana's death, Charles announced to William and Harry that he was marrying his longtime love. The only thing we asked in return was that he not marry her, Harry writes. Despite their objections, the two married in 2005. 5. Diana's death. Pa didn't hug me. On August 31, 1997, Princess Diana died from injuries sustained in a car accident in Paris. Harry recounts his father breaking the news to he and brother William, 12 and 15 at the time. They tried, darling boy, I'm afraid she didn't make it, Harry writes in Spare. These phrases remain in my mind like darts on a board, he continues. According to the Duke of Sussex, his father told him Diana had sustained fatal head injuries in the accident. What he remembers with startling clarity is that he didn't cry. Not one tear. Pa didn't hug me, he writes in Spare. But his hand did fall once more on my knee and he said, "It's going to be okay." He says he struggled to cry until Diana's coffin was lowered into the ground. That was the first time that I actually cried, he says. There was never another time. 6. For years, he believed Diana faked her death. In Spare, Harry writes that in the wake of his mother's death, he found it difficult to grieve not only because he was numb, but also that he believed that might have faked her own death to escape the constant hounding of the press. Her life's been miserable, she's been hounded, harassed, lied about, lied to. So she's staged an accident as a diversion and run away, he writes of his former mindset. Even after 4 years, Harry says that he'd often tell himself first thing in the morning that maybe this is the day that she'd finally reappear, having forged a new life, a new identity, shocking the world and calling for her sons while answering questions from astonished reporters. Harry says he shared the theory with William, who admitted that he had also entertained the idea, but dismissed it saying, "She's gone, Harold. She's not coming back. I suppose I knew the truth deep in my heart," Harry writes. The illusion of Mummy hiding, preparing to return, was never so real that it could blot out reality entirely. 7. Harry details a fight between him and his brother William. According to Spare, the fact that Meghan was a divorced American actress with a black mother made her an easy target for the British press. In Spare, Harry says that the prejudice didn't end there. He says members of the royal family were also biased against Meghan, including William. Harry says he and his brother had a heated argument in 2019 after William came to Nottingham Cottage and complained about Meghan. "Meg's difficult, she's rude. She's abrasive. She's alienated half the staff," Harry alleges that Wills said, writing, not the first time he'd parroted the press narrative. He details the encounter in Spare, saying that it all happened very fast. "He grabbed me by the collar, ripping my necklace, and knocking him down. The Duke landed on a dog bowl, which he says broke and cut his back. I lay there for a moment, dazed, then got to my feet and told him to get out." Before leaving, Harry writes William told him that Meghan didn't need to know about the incident. "You mean that you attacked me?" he writes. "I didn't attack you, Harold," William replies. Later, though, Harry says Meghan noticed scrapes and bruises on his back. After he ultimately told her of the attack, Harry says she wasn't that surprised and wasn't all that angry. She was terribly sad. 8. Harry says Charles and Camilla wanted the spotlight. According to Spare, Harry writes that Charles and Camilla didn't want William and Kate getting loads of publicity. He writes, Pa and Camilla didn't like Willie and Kate drawing attention away from them or their causes. They'd openly scolded Willie about it many times. He writes about a day that his father had an engagement and Kate was scheduled to visit a tennis club. Pa's press officer berated Willie's team. Harry writes and alleges that when Kate's event couldn't be rescheduled, the press officer told her she couldn't hold a tennis racket in any of the photos taken. Such a winning, fetching photo would undoubtedly wipe Pa and Camilla off the front pages. And that, in the end, couldn't be tolerated, he writes. 9. He used cocaine and other drugs to numb the pain. In his younger days, Harry writes in Spare that he struggled to feel and to be different, which led him to experimenting with drugs. At someone's house, during a hunting weekend, I was offered a line, and since then I had consumed some more, he says. The Duke didn't enjoy the experience, saying, "It wasn't very fun, and it didn't make me feel especially happy as seemed to happen to the others, but it did make me feel different, and that was my main objective." Along with using drugs, he also resorted to drinking heavily to help numb his feelings. "I had a lot of anger inside of me that luckily I never expressed to anybody," he says. For Harry, drugs and alcohol were a way to cope. "I wanted to distract myself from whatever I was thinking." Those days are behind him, and he says his wife is partly responsible for the change.